Want to listen to this episode ad-free? Head on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room, and get a free trial for the ITBR professor level. And you can actually watch this episode as a video episode as well. While you're at it, did you know that on Spotify, we now have a subscription service for $10 a month? You get access to all of our ad-free episodes plus any bonus episodes. So make sure that you rate, review, and follow the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Ivory Tower Boiler Room. And follow Mary DePippi's show, True Crime in Academia, at True Crime in Academia. Thank you all for your support, and without further ado, here's today's episode.
Hey, true crime friends. Welcome back to another episode of True Crime in Academia. I am your host, Mary DePippi. I hope you all had a wonderful work week this week and are looking forward to a fun, relaxing, or, adventure-filled weekend. I have yoga teacher training this weekend, so I'm going to be a little busy, but I'm looking forward to it. We're covering some really interesting topics this weekend, so I'm really excited to learn more. Also, last Friday we had a freaking earthquake in New Jersey. It was the weirdest thing. It did not last long, thankfully, and my heart just goes out to the people because it seems like we were getting, or our earthquake was caused by another earthquake that we were kind of getting the repercussions from my understanding. So my heart goes out to those people who were affected by, a stronger earthquake. So with that, let's get into the news update, shall we? So yesterday, O.J. Simpson died after his battle with cancer at the age of 76. On this day, though, I think we should remember the lives of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman, OJ's soon-to-be his ex-wife at the time, and her friend, who were murdered on June 13th, 1994. Although OJ was acquitted of their murders, many people, myself included, think that he did it. I mean, the man literally wrote a book called If I Did It. So, yeah. In 2007, though, O.J. was charged with armed robbery and sentenced to 33 years in prison. He only actually served 9 years and was released in 2016 on parole. He has been out free since then, of course, until his death. Caitlyn Jenner reacted to the news of O.J.'s death and only had 2 words for Twitter. Good riddance. I don't really agree with Caitlyn Jenner often, but I feel like I agree with her in this. On Monday, 34-year-old social media astrologist named Danielle Johnson, a.k.a. Danielle Aoka, murdered her 29-year-old partner, Jalen Chauncey, and her 8-month-old daughter, and injured her 9-year-old daughter before killing herself in a car crash. Now, some people think that this could be motive. I'm not 100% sure, but just a few days before all of this happened, she had posted on social media warnings of the impending spiritual warfare due to the total eclipse. She tweeted, "The eclipse is the epitome of spiritual warfare. Get your protection on and your heart in the right place. The world is very obviously changing right now, and if you ever needed to pick a side, the time to do right in your life is now. Stay strong. You got this." Again, I'm not 100% sure that is enough evidence of foreshadowing for me, but who knows? Police stated that this all began at around 3:40 a.m. on Monday, the 8th. Johnson stabbed and killed Cheney. Did I say Chauncey before? Oh my gosh. The boyfriend or the partner's name is Cheney. Jalen Cheney. So Johnson stabbed and killed Cheney in their apartment in Woodland Hills, which is about 25 miles from downtown LA. Now, according to the press release that the police gave, they believe that the couple had a verbal altercation that escalated into Johnson becoming violent. Johnson fled with her 2 children in her Porsche SUV. And at around 4:30 a.m., the car was seen driving on the 405 freeway when her 2 children were expelled from the car while it was still moving. The 9-year-old girl sustained moderate injuries and was transported to the local hospital. However, the 8-month-old girl sadly sustained fatal injuries and was pronounced dead at the scene. About a half hour later, Johnson drove her car going at about 100 miles over the speed limit in Redondo Beach and collided with a tree. She died instantly in the crash and was pronounced dead at the scene. Now, Cheney's body wouldn't be discovered until 7:35 a.m. when one of Johnson and Chauncey's neighbors noticed that their front door was open and decided to check if the couple and the children were okay. It was there that they found Cheney's body and called the LAPD. I have to say I'm personally very impressed with the communication between the various police departments in this case, because when it first came out, it seemed like it only had focused, or they only had the information of the sadly, the horrific death of the 8-month-old girl, and how her and her sister were thrown from a moving car, and that the car crash that Johnson facilitated, that ended her life, were related, but there wasn't much information after that until, they put together Cheney's body, the discovery of Cheney's body. So, again, like I said, I'm very impressed because it was, a bunch of different police departments working on this case. So, even though it's extremely tragic, at least everyone was able to get the right information and, put together what happened to these poor girls and, to Cheney. 10 people were recently arrested in connection with 2 murders committed in 2018. 33-year-old Johnny Robbins disappeared in the Midlands in England sometime in mid-March of 2018. It is suspected that he was tortured and his body is still missing. Authorities were able to link Robbins' disappearance to a murder that occurred on March 25th, 2018. 28-year-old Daniel Shaw was shot and killed in Tile Hill, Coventry. Now, 6 men have been arrested for conspiracy to murder, and 2 men and 2 women were arrested for assisting an offender. All 10 were arrested in areas across the Midlands. Now, the West Midlands Police are also looking for information about a man named Ryan Hobday from Coventry. They are wanted, or he is wanted, in connection with the murders. However, police also believe that it is possible that he himself might also be murdered. I couldn't find any contact information for you guys, but I guess if you look up the West Midlands Police, you can get their number there. All right, so that is all I have for you in the news update. Let's take a quick commercial break, and we are going to get into this week's 2-parter case.
Are you a fan of LGBTQ plus books, plays, movies, TV shows? Well, then I have the magazine for you. It's called the Gay and Lesbian Review. The GNLR is a bi-monthly magazine of history, culture, and politics that publishes essays in a wide range of disciplines, as well as a slew of reviews of books, plays, and movies. Each issue brings you consistently intelligent, lively, thought-provoking articles focused on a unifying theme, and it brings together the leading minds on the topic. So I just had on Dr. Richard Schneider Jr., the founder and editor-in-chief of the GNLR. For the GNLR's 30th anniversary, happy birthday, GNLR. Dr. Richard Schneider talked about their special volume called Outer Appearances, More Faces from the Annals of the GNLR, illustrations by Charles Heffling. They cover current LGBTQ artists such as Harvey Fierstein, Melissa Etheridge, Alan Cumming, James Whiteside, Alison Bechdel, and even David Sedaris, and of course, many others like Stephen Sondheim. There's even a supplemental issue that comes with your commemorative volume. And Andrew Holleran, the writer of Dancer from the Dance, he reviews a book called Morris about E.M. Forster's Morris, written by one of our ITBR guests, David Grevin. So we can't wait for you all to experience this beautiful 30th anniversary GNLR issue. Have you heard some of my GNLR interviews, including Dr. Andrew Lear's discussion about male-male love in ancient Greek society and Ignacio Darnad opening and blasting the closet door in the queer male art world? Well, definitely make sure you listen to them after this episode. Head to glreview.org. Make sure you subscribe to their magazine. You'll see there's a section that says subscribe at the top. Enter the promo code ITBR50. That's ITBR50 to receive 50% off. 50% off any print or digital subscription. Enjoy your reading. Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Rimby, and I'm really excited to talk to you all about one of our ITBR sponsors, Broadview Press. Broadview Press is an independent academic publisher in the humanities that produces high-quality, pedagogically useful books for use in university and college classrooms. They publish mainly in English studies, writing, philosophy, and history. They are always publishing with an eye towards diversity, building a strong list of titles from women, people of color, and authors from other marginalized groups. If you haven't heard my Broadview Press interviews, you need to. Recently, I just had on Dr. Shannon Day, who talked about her book, Beyond the Binary, Thinking About Sex and Gender. And in the summer, I had on Dr. Jason Holt, who gave us all a comprehensive history of what it means to be a philosopher who studies sporting culture. And of course, we went back to ancient Greek literature, mythology, history to look at the roots of athleticism. And last year, I had on Dr. Jeffrey Andrew Weinstock, who's actually going to be coming on the podcast soon to give his thoughts on the new Fall of the House of Usher Netflix series. He talked all about pop culture for beginners. And Broadview Press is offering an exclusive discount because of our sponsorship. So head to broadviewpress.com where you're going to see such a wide range of literature. Use the code Ivory Tower, IVORYTOWER for 20% off site-wide all of their books. Again, it's broadviewpress.com. Enjoy your reading.
Issei Sagawa was born on April 26, 1949, in Kobe, Japan. Segawa was born 4 months premature and developed a disease of the small intestine called enteritis. After some treatments of calcium and potassium in a saline solution or saline injection, he was healthy enough to go home. But even still, again, he's 4 months premature at this point. And he was so small, he was said that he could fit in the palm of his father's hand. A few years later, his little brother would be born. Now, aside from his medically rough early start, Issei lived a normal life. Actually, I would argue it was better than normal because his father was a wealthy businessman and his grandfather was an editor at a popular magazine company in Japan. So they were really well off. So generally speaking, he has not necessarily had to face certain life stresses versus people who grow up in poorer households. And I do point that out because during my research, I have noticed, like, in my research, I mean just this podcast and looking up different cases and kind of seeing all the different angles and upbringing, of killers. We all know the psychology is my favorite, but also the sociological aspects as well. In some cases of killers or serial killers, they do come from more impoverished households. And, sometimes that stress can be a trigger. So I just wanted to point that out and just kind of mention that obviously this is not a trigger for him. I feel like he is a very specific case. But again, I just wanted to rule any sort of family background, but specifically as far as economics are concerned. Issei has claimed in his many books and movies, which we'll talk about in part 2, that he had always had a fascination with cannibalism during his childhood. And one particular thing that he remembered being very, just a fond memory of his, which in this context, it's gonna sound creepy. But I want you to kind of just picture this as an uncle with his nephews, and not that one of the nephews goes on to commit cannibalistic murder. Keep that part out of your brain for just a hot second, because the uncle, he would dress up as this like boy eating monster. Again, they're coming from a wealthy family. They can really get into their role play and stuff like that, so because he said he had like a costume that he would put on, and he would dress up, like I said, as this boy eating monster and chase them around the house. And they would get this huge cast iron pot. And, if he caught if he caught Issei, or if he caught Issei's brother, he would then like lower them into this pot of stew and pretend that he was, getting ready to cook them, to eat them, But then their father would dress up as like a knight in shining armor and save them. Again, very committed to the role play. I kind of appreciate it a little bit. Again, though, I mean, when you take it out of the context of one of these children goes on to be a cannibalistic killer, I would argue that this is really nice that the father is involved, especially since he's a wealthy businessman. They're getting time with their uncle. It doesn't seem to be a traumatic, at least for not Issei. I can't really speak for the brother, but, Issei remembers this very fondly. So, again, I feel like it's... Okay, maybe it's a little weird in, like, the fact that they can get all dressed up. But then again, like I said, they're wealthy. I feel like anyone who is wealthy and has young children would, like, want to do all of this and want to spend the money on all of this. So maybe, I'm not rich, so I wouldn't know. But I can imagine that that's what it would be like. But aside from this game, Issei was also fascinated with fairy tales like Hansel and Gretel. The big bad witch wanting to eat the small children. And I mean, I like that story. I mean, I liked it as a kid because of the darkness. Like, I like that for all the other reasons that, Issei does. Well, probably does, but, it's the eating part that I'm not fascinated with. But, it tracks. Issei had also stated that he noticed this fascination with cannibalism in grade school. Like in first grade, I think it said he had actually seen one of his classmates' thighs. I think it was like one of his guy friends. He was wearing like shorts or something and saw his thigh and just thought to himself, well, that looks delicious. Not normal, But again, as far as people who go on to kill, we can see that he does not have the same type of stressors or triggers or even learned behaviors. So, again, very interesting, and that what kind of makes him a little different. As he got older, one would expect that he would have gotten the sex talk, but no. Despite the fact that Japan has very open attitudes towards sex, and at this time as well, the Segawa family never spoke about or really explained sex to their sons. It was to the point that sadly, like when Issei got his first erection, he thought something was wrong with him. This also led to some very unsavory experiments with the family dog, and that's as far as we are going to go with that. And with that, here is a nice palate cleansing commercial break so we can all forget what I just said. That sentence, because I desperately want to.
Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Rimby, and when I'm not here on the podcast, I am consulting with small businesses, undergraduate students, graduate students, podcasters, and those in media. So, if you're curious about the work that I've done with my consultation services, you could just type me in on Google, Ivory Tower Boiler Room, and you'll see a few reviews pop up. I've worked on college admission essays for undergraduate students. I've revamped and expanded a small business's social media marketing campaign right here in Port Jefferson, New York. And I've also worked on a graduate student's thesis for her physician assistant program. So if you want to seek me out or inquire about my consultation services, just email me. That's the easiest way to reach me at ivorytowerboilerroom@gmail.com. That's easy to remember. And 'tis the season for college admission essays, both undergraduate and graduate, thesis writing, dissertation writing. Do you want to create a podcast and you don't know where to begin? Media work, how to open a TikTok, how to start creating videos on TikTok, what to do with your Instagram. All of that I have done. So just reach out to me. I am here in Port Jefferson, New York, on Long Island, in one of my favorite stores. It is the Soapbox NY, a bath and body boutique. I'm here with one of the co-owners, Janine. Hi, Janine.
Hi, Andrew. How are you? Thank you.
Good. So I know you have many winter scents to walk us through. So let's
Yes.
get started.
This is from company Michelle Design Works, another one of our favorites. Room spray that you can use any room in your house, just kind of freshens up the room a bit.
And what is this by Michelle Design
Also by
Works?
Michelle Design Works is Winter Blooms, one of their new scents this holiday season. It's great. It's a hand wash. You can use it in your kitchen or your bathroom.
And then here's something to follow it up with.
Exactly. It's a hand and body lotion.
And then what is this beautiful decorative candle here?
One of our favorites that we actually sell all year round because it's so popular. This is the scent of Fraser Fir by Times.
I think I'm becoming addicted to it.
Yes, I think you are because you already own one, I believe.
I own one, and it is a decorative candle for me because I'm about to open it, but it's just in such
I know the
a
packaging
beautiful
is, I don't know what's better,
package.
the packaging or the scent.
I'm
but
using
it's
it as a
wonderful.
holiday decoration. So
Cool.
I'll get to the candle eventually,
Yes, you
everyone.
will. But it's wonderful because with Times and their Fraser Fir, not only do they carry the candles, but they also make it in the scents in the diffuser, in soap, the hand lotion, the hand soap. It's just a great line and a great scent.
So, Janine, how can everyone out there get their hands on your hand and body and even pajama products?
Well, we'd be more than happy to see you in our shop. We're located at 18 Chandler Square in Port Jefferson Village. You could always call us to place an order. We're happy to ship to you. Our phone number is 631-509-1424. You can place an order on our website, soapboxny.com. And you could also find us on Instagram or TikTok at the Soapbox NY.
So many options. I can't wait for all of you out there to just enjoy what I love so much about the Soapbox NY. So, with that,
thank you so much.
happy winter, everyone. LGBT stories are universal, but each one speaks to the individual heart and soul of the writer telling it. Do you have a story to tell? Or have you been moved by an LGBT book, film, painting, television show, or other form of media? Then the Gay and Lesbian Review wants to hear from you. The GNLR believes in bringing awareness to queer art and artists through reviews, commentary, and thought pieces in which the author relates their personal lives to a particular piece of art, a novel, a movie. In addition to the print magazine, the GNLR also publishes articles on its blog. So you can see all of this on glreview.org. That's glreview.org. Remember, you get 50% off your subscription of the GL Review magazine when you use the promo code ITBR50. That's 50% off your print or digital subscription when you use promo code ITBR50. To learn more about submitting an article for the GNLR, visit their writer's guidelines. The link is located at the bottom of their homepage. And if you have any questions, email Stephen Hemrick. That's STEPHEN.HEMRICK at glreview.org. The GNLR and its readers can't wait to see what you have to say.
Some sources that I used and read through claim that at 15, Issei actually tried to seek out help from a psychiatrist. But unfortunately, that experience only made him retreat into his own mind even more about his cannibalistic desires. Which, if that is true, again, because it didn't say that everywhere, I only saw it in maybe one or two of the sources that I have listed in the show notes at the bottom. But yeah, if that is the case, that is truly heartbreaking, because it's someone who knows that they need help and is able to figure that out on their, is introspective enough to know that that's not right. And then, to go and try and help and then have it just backfire like that. I mean, unfortunately, I feel like that is why so many people give up on therapy. I know I have had my own experiences with therapy, similar, that I've kind of turned me off from that, and maybe not necessarily to therapy as a whole, but just knowing, or just maybe being more realistic about choosing a therapist, and really finding, because that's the most important part, I think, is finding the therapist that really is you can rely on and trust, and because if not, then there's really no point, right? So again, if that's the case, that's really, really, really sad. Now, him being introverted led to an interest in literature, and Issei went on to attend Waco University, which is in Japan. And then he went on to complete his master's degree in English literature at Kwansei, I think is how you pronounce that, Kwansei Gakuin University. We all know I suck at pronouncing things, and I do try to remember, but sometimes, you just forget. However, though, his academic route going from, a bachelor's to a master's degree was not easy. Mainly because Issei had some legal troubles that dear old dad bailed him out of when he was at Waco University. At the time, 24-year-old Issei decided that he was going to follow this tall German woman home. And he obviously didn't make any contact with her. It was very much a stalker situation. And he then waited until she fell asleep to break into her apartment. Now, his intention was really driven by cannibalism. He really just wanted to go in there and slice off a part of, and leave with, not even just do this, but leave with a part of her buttocks. Now, of course, she woke up and understandably went into fight mode, so she pushed him to the ground. Cops were called and Issei was arrested and charged with attempted rape, although he really had no intention of raping her. But he wasn't going to confess his true intentions to the authorities because obviously that would be a lot worse. The charges, though, were eventually dropped because, like I said, dear old dad paid him out and paid the settlement to the German woman, which, no shame. at all to her or anyone who chooses to take a settlement over trial. Just a reminder, because I feel like some people think it is just so easy to just be like, yep, I'm going to trial. Trial is extremely, and can be, or I shouldn't say it is, but it can be extremely traumatizing for victims because they have to go through and reiterate and explain to people again their trauma, therefore re-traumatizing them. So I can understand from, the most bare bones perspective of it. So no shade and no shame to her for taking it. I don't want anyone to be like, oh, well, she shouldn't have taken it. She made her decision and the right decision for her. And that's all that matters. I honestly hope that she got a decent settlement and was really able to do things in her life because of it, and just enjoy it. 4 years later, Issei moved to Paris, France, because believe it or not, there are other Parises. Apparently there's one in the US. I forget what state it's in, but I just think that's blasphemous. Anyway, he moved to the real Paris. And he there wanted to pursue a PhD at Sorbonne, which I believe is I don't know if it's a prestigious school. It seems like it is, just because it stands alone. It's just Sorbonne. It's not Sorbonne University or anything like that. It's just that. And he's getting a PhD in literature in France, the real France. So I feel like it's a big deal. I could be wrong. But let me know in the comments once you've rated the Ivory Tower Boiler Room podcast. Anyway, at some point, though, he acquires some sort of gun. And he also knows that his cannibalistic urges are taking over and he really wants to indulge them. And because he's just at a point where he can't hold it off any longer. And he has stated that, quote, almost every night I would bring a prostitute home and then try to shoot them. But for some reason, my fingers froze up and I couldn't pull the trigger, end quote. Yes, that is a direct quote from Issei himself about this time in France. And it's thank God, though, right? I feel like that is a good thing. That you're freezing up at the idea of killing someone. I feel like personally that is a normal human reaction in this fucked up situation. Again, I'm not talking about self-defense. That's a different nervous system that's at play. I'm talking about, again, just meeting people in general and being like, yeah, I want to eat them. I want to kill them and eat them. That's the fact that you're freezing up at the killing part, again, I feel like is the good thing. Is a good thing. Unfortunately, though, because why else would we be here? His ability to freeze and not shoot someone came to an end. 2 years later, he would choose an innocent woman and friend to unleash his urges on. And that is where we are going to pick up next week. Please do not forget to follow True Crime in Academia on social media at True Crime in Academia on Instagram and TikTok and Threads, and at TC, like True Crime TC, in Academia on X/Twitter/ whatever the hell we're calling it anymore. Also, if you would like to listen to this episode and all True Crime in Academia episodes ad-free, go to patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room, and for the price of a cup of coffee, become a subscriber today. All right, my loves, that is all I have for you this week. Stay safe, stay healthy, try and be your best selves, and until next time, I will see you all later.